If scientists invented a teleportation system, but the death rate was 1 in 5 million, would you use it? Why or why not? 1 in 5 million? Yes, I absolutely would. Those odds aren't that bad. I like those odds, says man who died. I'd be okay with teleportation. It's only slightly worse than air travel. I'd definitely want to weight it based on the notes in the Wikipedia article, though. According to statistics, a typical flight from Los Angeles to New York will carry a larger risk factor than a typical car travel from home to office. But a car travel from Los Angeles to New York would not be typical. It would be as large as several dozens of typical car travels, and associated risk will be larger as well. Because the journey would take a much longer time, the overall risk associated by making this journey by car will be higher than making the same journey by air, even if each individual hour of car travel can be less risky than an hour of flight. So yeah, no teleportation for trips to the cinema. But for a trip to Australia? Sure, probably significantly safer than air travel. It's only like around 1,500 deaths across the planet. Those are good odds. It's a hell of a lot better than cars, just saying. Let's say the average person drives 2 times a day for a commute, then 5 times a day for other things. That is 2.5 multiplied to 365 times a year, which is 913. For simplicity, let's say 1,000 teleports a year instead of vehicle trips. That 1 in 5 million becomes a 0.08% chance of death per year. For simplicity, let's say you do this for a 50-year traveling lifespan. You end up with a 1% chance dying to a teleporter accident in that 50-year traveling period. Current statistics are 12 deaths in 100,000 per year for cars. In a 50-year period, that breaks down to 0.6%. If you say that only 70% of the population drives, 12 deaths in 70,000 drivers per year, you end up with close to a 0.9% chance of dying in the 50 years you spend as a driver. All in all, a 10% uptick in fatalities, but a significant drop in injuries. They said the odds aren't that bad. You said they're good. I'm saying those odds are fucking phenomenal. Those odds are good enough that I would use it to go from my living room to my bathroom. 4,999,999 teleports and no deaths? Alright, you're number 5 million step on up. What's that? Odds don't work like that? Then you have nothing to worry about. Hey, welcome to the other side. What's this gun for? Well, gotta keep those odds on point. What's that? Odds? Odds don't work like that. That's what the other 5 million person said. Depends what is the death like. If it's like Stephen King's The Junt, then hell no. Okay, please tell the gist of it. I too want to be existentially terrified. A summary. Teleportation is successfully invented, but people need to be fully unconscious for it to work. Or they come out the other side completely deranged and die soon after. It turns out that physically, teleportation is near instant, but mentally it seems like millions of years. If a person is left conscious, they experience millions of years of oblivion, where they can still think and experience emotions but have absolutely nothing else going on. At one point in the story, someone murders someone else by pushing them through a teleportation portal without setting an end destination, implying that the victim will be stuck in the conscious oblivion, either for literal eternity or until their body dies naturally of dehydration, suffocation, whatever they die of in the void, which might as well be an eternity, given how long a fraction of a second feels like. I sure wouldn't take a 1 in 5 million chance of that. Why would they build a teleportation portal that could function without setting a destination anyway? Sounds like r/asshole design. Teleportation is instantaneous physically, but mentally feels like an eternity, making anyone who teleports whilst conscious go insane. So people are drugged unconscious before teleporting. A boy is curious about what happens and holds his breath whilst being administered the sedative. The boy gets to experience eternity. There was also a case in the story where someone murdered his wife by sabotaging it, so she won't exist the jaunt. The argument is that since she's not dead, he can't be tried for murder. The revelation and horror that the wife is now stuck in eternal limbo while being conscious is enough to immediately give him the death penalty. I still think about what life out there when I remember this short story. Don't feel too bad. Technically, it violates all laws of thermodynamics. Yeah, without question. With odds like that, it's probably the safest mode of transportation you could find. Accidentally teleports to a house fire. If you could teleport in, you could just teleport out, right? Teleport in, teleport out, 20-minute adventure Morty. In question that, if the rate is 1 to 5 million per use and you use it twice a day, then your chance to die in it over your lifetime has to be calculated higher than 1 to 100. The chances of dying during your lifetime, however, 100%. Checkmate, atheists. Sure, I live in London. I'm sure the death rate for just stepping outside of my house is worse than this. I live in New York City and can certainly relate. Pretty sure the subway has the same death rate. I live in Manchester and I'm sure the death rate is higher staying inside my house. Yes, those are better odds than most transportation, I think. But I would be doubtful of teleportation anyway. Who says the person going in is the same as the one getting out? Still a better survival rate than all the other means of transportation. People are worried because the 1 in 5 million feels random. This question phrases the odds of dying as a roll the dice and you might die kind of thing, while in the real world you are aware of your surroundings in real time. I don't think anyone killed in a car wreck was expecting it to happen though. Situational awareness still fails. I think it's more likely that people expect to not die in car crash and believe that by remaining vigilant they won't die. It's not about actually having control over it. It's about feeling you have control. If I only used it to commute to or from work over a 30-year career, I'd have a cumulative 0.3% chance of it killing me. Assuming I can't do anything to improve my personal odds, like standing very still or swatting any flies in my immediate vicinity right before transport, I still don't know. Let's try another perspective. There are 155 million employed Americans today. So if every American only uses the teleportation to commute to work, then 70 people per day will die just commuting. National Transportation Safety Board says about 100 per day die in traffic accidents, all driving, not just commuting. So the numbers are reasonably close. This is all I need. I can instantly get to wherever I need, and it's far less likely to kill me than any disease. Sign me up! Don't forget, reduces stress from not driving and being in traffic, which leads to low chances of heart problems and other stress-related deaths. That's better odds than flying in an airplane at 1 in 3 million. And considerably better odds than simply walking down the street or getting in a car. From what I can tell, this scenario means an even safer method of transportation. I would pick it over all other methods. Your odds of dying in the United States in a car crash are 1 in 114 according to this article. Your odds of dying over your lifetime as a pedestrian are 1 in 556. There are 12.5 deaths per billion vehicle miles due to motor vehicles in the United States. What we want to know is the average distance you have to cover when you get in the car before you achieve a 1 in 5 million chance of dying. The odds of dying while driving isn't linear. For example, if you drive 18 million miles, that will look like you have a 100% chance of dying. And at 160 million miles, you have a 200% chance of dying. That is obviously wrong. What we want is a probability distribution that gives you a cumulative probability of dying of 0% at 0 miles and 100% as you approach infinity miles. To your edit, driving for 80 million miles would take 121 years straight at 75 miles per hour. So probability of death at some point on that journey approaches 100%. Until we have someone live to be 137, I think it reaches 100%. Teleportation equals eternal autism. You learn something new every day. True, I'd rather my kid die of space insanity than be autistic. Syringe injection has mercury, which causes teleautism. With such a high price for not taking the sedative, you think they'd require it to be administered via syringe so that this couldn't happen. General idea, from what I recall, teleportation exists and is instant in that once you go through, you immediately appear on the other side. However, everyone has to be sedated, unconscious. People who go through while awake experience it as something like millions of years in a limbo of nothingness and go insane. Scientists successfully invent a foolproof, cheap, and instantaneous method of teleportation called jaunting. The only problem is that you have to be asleep while teleporting, or your mind gets trapped in an infinite limbo without hope of death or suicide for presumably billions of years until you come out of the other side of the teleporter.